Sometimes in social settings, I'll let my guard down and my ADHD, hyperactivity, impulsivity will take over and I'll start showing some Labrador energy. I'll be high energy, jokey, a little bit too edgy with my humor, maybe a little bit risque. I'll assume that the person understands where I'm coming from, so I'll let my guard down, I'll unmask. And sometimes people like that because they perceive it as extrovert charm. Some people will read it as people pleasy, too energetic, too overwhelming, and get annoyed. And I'll, for a brief moment in time, feel like I'm being able to exhibit my true, authentic, energetic self. You know, being in the moment, not living in my head, connecting with people, being my unvarnished self, not worrying for a change how I'm going to be perceived or how somebody might read me. And it will feel good. And sometimes it's well received and sometimes it isn't. And the times it isn't well received, you can kind of see people reacting in a way, maybe not even reacting, but you assess that the mood has changed in some way to that Labrador energy. They'll read you as people pleasy, annoying, irritating, too high energy, and they'll disengage or they won't reciprocate. And that interaction won't necessarily continue or flourish in any meaningful way. And it's hard because I do want sometimes to be that Labrador. I want to be high energy. I want to be friendly. I want to be like wagging my figurative tail and showing my enthusiasm in a social interaction. But if I don't measure it, if I don't meet it out in small amounts, then it can be too much for that person or those people that I'm around. Some people don't have the capacity to hold that energy. Some people read it as desperation. People will bring their own filter on how they read that behavior. And there's an almost childlike naivete in how it presents. So people might see you in a way as regressing to a younger version of yourself, an immature, an impulsive version of yourself. And it's that kind of reaction, that kind of judgment that when people read it that way, that keeps us from exhibiting that Labrador energy to begin with. We're so hyper-conscious of how we might be read and received that we try to keep our ADHD, hyperactivity, impulsivity under wraps. We're scared that we're not going to be warmly received, that people are going to misread where we're coming from, that we're going to be seen as inferior or defective or silly or ridiculous or whatever negative label people choose to attach to us. And so we withdraw and so we hide that energy. We play it very conservative. And I've met many people who are ADHD who don't exhibit hyperactivity or impulsivity because they have a tyrannical inner critic in their head, lashing them for even wanting to exhibit that sign of their identity. And because it's a core part of many neurotypes, it stands to reason that we should be able to some extent express that if that's how we want to show up in the world. That's who we are. That's how our brain works. That's how we function in the world. So having to repress that is, I think, demoralizing and teaches us that somehow we're defective for being this way when it's just an inherent part of who we are. It's a core part of our identity. And that leads to a lot of internalized ableism and stigma and a lot of shrinking, and a lot of withholding, and a lot of avoidance, and a desire to mask and not be authentic in social situations because you're always anticipating how that's going to be read. You're having a double consciousness about how you are presenting according to you and how you're being read by other people. And that consciousness keeps you from being impulsive and hyperactive and showing that lovely Labrador energy, or limiting it, curtailing it quite substantially so that it often doesn't even present in any meaningful, substantive way, because you're just like, okay, people don't have the capacity to hold me. I'm just going to be misread. I'm going to be judged, and then I'm going to feel shut down, and then I'm going to feel like, why was I even being my authentic self? Why did I let my guard down? Why did I, bring all this positive energy and verve and vivacity to this interaction, and people couldn't match me, or worse yet, they judged me? Have you struggled with this, exhibiting Labrador energy and it not being read really well by other people, so you've kind of locked it down and had to repress it and mask and camouflage and compensate so that people don't see it because you just don't want to run the risk of being misread? Or do you show up with that energy, and how is it received by other people? Neurotypicals, neurodivergence, does it depend on the setting? Is it all context-based? I can imagine that kind of energy would be great at, let's say, a music festival or live performance or a party, but maybe in others it's not well received. I would love to hear from you.